you hope?
I'll let her.
I was settled as always.
All right, we'll call the order 6:02, and please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. First thing we have on our agenda tonight is approval of minutes, public and non-public, from the 10th of January.
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes, public and non-public, from January 10.
Second?
All right, thank you both. Thank you, Tiffany. Any comments, quotes, or comments, questions, edits, concerns?
Nope.
For me.
I thought it was great. Captured all the hockey discussion, which is really cool. Yeah, that's great. All right. Without any further ado, all those in favor of approving the minutes, public and non-public, of January 10th, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions?
Yes.
And Dennis abstains. All right, cool. All right, public comment. So if you're here for public comment, hello, welcome. You are free to rise. Please state your name, what town you're from, so that we have it for the minutes. And we have a total of 30 minutes public comment, up to 30 minutes total public comment. We'll start here. Once people are done, we'll put the remainder at the end of the meeting. So, if anyone would like to speak?
Just observing.
Okay.
I'll go. Tracy Nadeau, I live in Canaan,
Yeah, come on over.
right down the road from the school, actually. So I'm here to about the buses.
Okay.
I've had nothing but trouble with the buses since the beginning of this year when all the routes got changed. My stop actually got completely taken off altogether. I called and talked to Sierra Stark at the bus company and told her that as long as she could get my children home, I would be able to get them to school in the morning. Up until about 2 weeks ago, that was fine and dandy. And then the transportation bus that took kids from Indian River to EVS disappeared because the bus driver quit. I then called Sierra again and was told that bringing my children home was no longer a convenience that the bus company was going to provide. My children could walk, or she would have them dropped off at the end of Blackwater Road and they could walk Route 4 home, or they could ride the bus and be dropped off at 5 o'clock at night. Now, mind you, I literally live right on Route 4, straight shot. Every single bus goes by my house in the morning. When my kids would go out, none of them would stop to pick them up, which is why I started bringing them. I work in the evenings, so does my husband, so nobody is around to get them home. In a perfect world, sure, I'd let them walk, but we all know how traffic is on Route 4. Even though my twins are freshmen in high school, it's not safe. Having them be a 2-minute stop from the school and having them have to ride the bus for 2 hours, basically, is not that's not a solution. When I talked to Sierra, she basically said it wasn't her problem. She didn't have a solution. If I didn't like the solutions that she had, then that was it. My kids would have to walk home. I then contacted Amanda, and her and I together decided that the kids would ride the white van, which this week has been fabulous. And at the end of last week, the twins are happy. They got dropped off. It's perfect. I wasn't looking for, I wasn't asking for much just to get my kids home. So I think it's a real problem. She did say that there are like 12 families that have kids that can't get home. My house has been a bus stop for probably 50 years or more. My husband went to school in Mascoma, his sister, his dad, his mom, it's been a stop. We pay taxes in the town. I don't think it's a lot to ask for our kids to get home safely. If I could pick them up every day and bring them home, believe me, I would. but I can't. Eventually they'll be able to drive themselves, but again, that's not where we are. I think that some of the problem might be that we need to, or the bus company maybe needs to look at replacing Sierra. I don't find that she's very personable. She was very rude to me on the phone, screaming, hollering, yelling at my husband while he was trying to talk to me because he could hear her yelling at me on the phone. Because when I called and she wasn't available to speak to, I did speak to a gentleman named Steve at the White River office who said, maybe we can put them on the white van, or maybe we can change one of the bus routes. He was very willing to be able to look for solutions, and I don't think that that is something that Sierra is willing to do. I think it's just like, this is the way it's going to be. If you don't like it, that's too bad. And as far as a courtesy, it's not a courtesy for you to bring my children home. The school hired your company to do that job. That's your job. It's not a courtesy. These kids have to get home, whether they're 5 or whether they're 15. Everybody needs to get home at the end of the day, and I think it's a real problem. Why the bus routes all got changed and they're all wacky and a bunch of routes were taken off, I'm not sure. I know there's not very many drivers. It's hard to keep drivers. I don't know. It's just an issue. So.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Just for about changing routes, I know that we changed it, so you know that we split it between the middle school, high school, and the elementary, so that's part of it. Just for explanation.
Yeah, I did know that was thing, but some routes, including my home, were taken completely off and not ever put back on.
Yeah, my house was taken off as well.
Yeah.
Because my kids could walk a little bit farther. It wasn't supposed to be for stuff like Route 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, if it was safer, then fine. But when people pass, doing 60 in the breakdown lane, going by my house, I'm not going to let my kids walk. If they could walk through the swamp, then, okay, but that's not an option either.
Not yet, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll work on that trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not an option, and I think that if your job is to provide transportation for kids, then when parents call you with concerns, your first thing should be able, to take suggestions and try to come up with a plan, not say that, well, I'm sorry, this is a courtesy that we no longer provide. Because when I called Amanda, she was like, what do you mean I don't have a transport bus? So there's some communication as well. I don't know. It's not, it's just not.
I hear you. Thank you. No, thank you for letting us know. It helps to have parents tell us this. So, any other public comment?
Vanessa Gridley, I'm from Grafton, and I am also having bus concerns. My bus stop was moved to 6:15 in the morning, so my children would be on the bus for over an hour and a half in the morning and in the afternoon. That is an unreasonable amount for my child to be on the bus. The bus is so overcrowded that my children get off at the wrong stop to avoid a panic attack by my daughter. And that's not my children. My children have never, ever gotten off at the wrong stop. They've never had bus concerns. And so now I am paying somebody to bring my children home. I am able to drop them off in the morning on the way to work. However, I'm working, so I can't bring them home. So I'm paying the gas money to transport my children home. So not only is my family paying tax dollars, but I'm paying the gas dollars to get my children home. And it was my understanding that transportation is something that was supposed to be part of their education. And even if we were riding the bus, it seems like multiple times a week I get a phone call saying that their bus route is going to be late. Sometimes it's 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes it's an hour and a half. I just don't think it's feasible to have those expectations. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Thank you. Any other public comments? All right. continue on with continuing business. Student representatives out tonight. So we'll go to our budget committee meeting from the 11th. And we were all there, I believe, just about. So, any questions on those? Budget committee accepted the budget as proposed, as with their proposals. Went 6-1 on the teachers' contract, the teacher union contract, 6-1 on that, and they voted unanimously on the rest of the warrant articles. So, anything else? All right, and we'll go on to our next one, Co-Curricular Activities Committee. Do you want to table that until Danielle gets here? Because Danielle's on her way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do that. All right.
Yeah.
EIC minutes are in your packet. We talked about Portrait of a Graduate, and that is also in your packet. I thought it was really cool, really neat to see the Portrait of a Graduate interconnecting puzzle pieces between all the different pieces that are important for a graduate to have, like learner's mindset, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, perseverance, resiliency, personal civic responsibility, integrity, all those locking together. It was really cool. They gave their nice presentation about it. This is for our accreditation work to be accredited for high schools and all that. And what was neat was that the senior seminar has been working with them on this. So that senior seminar that we created, one of the teachers that's working on this plan is helping our senior seminar help them craft and guide what a graduate looks like, which I thought was neat. And then the other part is that once the high school here has kind of built their Portrait of a Graduate, take the same framework and apply it, have the other schools do it under Portrait of a Learner. So that way it's kind of like an all-encompassing, everything locks together, so that way they have basic, building blocks from elementary school, and they're built on top of middle school, and then so on and so forth. So high school scheduling committee, they're going to do a school board presentation to us in the last meeting in February on what they found. So we will hear from them there. Committee's looking at the data from their stakeholder surveys. They'll present to the faculty next week or end of this week with some final recommendations. And what was really important was a growth mindset and teaching practices that engage students to create a positive culture shift within the district. So just kind of like having people understand, this is a growth mindset. This is an opportunity for learning new things and trying things out and making adjustments. So, talked about a math pilot program that we were working on that we'll have. It's going to be probably illustrative math. Is that correct, Amanda?
That's correct.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. So they're going to be testing out a few classes this year, and we should have more information on that at the end of the year. So, any questions on EIC?
The Portrait of a Graduate, I think these recurring themes are wonderful.
Yeah.
And I like the way they pick those out and put that all together in terms of the stakeholders.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that was really good.
Definitely. They will. Definitely this. It's just the 3 slides here. It's 2 slides really.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the themes they just lock together so nicely, and they overlap with a lot of what we've already been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of building blocks to start with. So, all right. Anything else on that? All right, we table co-curricular. Yeah, so that way you can get to it.
I thought that I was
you were probably waiting outside until you saw
managing
it.
it.
No.
Yeah, I was.
You
definitely.
did a
I was
job.
watching the live stream and I was like, okay, boom, now's my time.
All right, co-curricular.
You've got the minutes of our January 12th meeting in your packet. We did have Bridget there putting on the Friends of Mascoma hat, which was great. So we did have an update there. Scholarship applications are going to be open soon. And talk about a couple of other things. The biggest part you'll see is the high school co-curricular update.
Oh, it's like long.
Yeah, it's great. And this is something that is, it's fascinating to kind of go through and see all of the different things that our student body is involved with. And so it's been a great addition to have Mr. Sevens put this together for us, and I believe we'll start to get something from IRS shortly as well, and it just gives us a better sense of the types of things that everyone is involved with, and especially knowing that we're such a small, a relatively small school, the breadth and the depth of the interests and the involvement within our student body is really something to be proud of. Between that and then our community partner updates, which include things like skiing at Whaleback, the Enfield Rec Department cross-country skiing event at CES that happened earlier this month. There's some preschool related or younger, or families with younger kid activities that are also going on within the area. So it's really been, it's been great to just to have this collection of information. And our next meeting will be on March 9th. And does anyone have any questions?
This list of clubs is great, just because a lot of these clubs are not around 10 years ago, 5 years ago, so or would kind of not very active.
Yeah, and we're working on trying to get a student participant in the group, but as you can see, they're involved in so many things. It's hard to actually nail anyone down to attend, even at a 3:30 meeting, or maybe because of a 3:30 meeting. Who knows? Perhaps that's something that we can maybe we can find an IRS student. That maybe is involved in less clubs or activities.
Give them food too.
Yeah.
Students will show up with food. So.
Feed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, as student council, maybe student council, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I've noticed in the time that I've been in the building and I walk around and look at the things on the wall, there's been a huge increase in flyers regarding these clubs, and I like to see that because I know they're sharing the information out there. That's one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah,
They're doing a good job.
Clubs before school, after school, during school, it's not so. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just want to point out, Granite State Challenge, they lost a bow on their very last question. But they qualified for other quiz bowls, so they're going to keep going. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
I know that at one point we were trying to collect data kind of on, are we still going to be keeping track of that, just so we know, how many kids we're covering, what grades, and each club.
Yeah, I think that is part of what Mr. Sevens is doing. There hasn't been another survey since the end of last school year to try to see up and coming interest, because that's again something that we'll want to keep an eye on as part of both kind of reopening strategic planning, but also looking at what are those co-curricular offerings that we can be we can have a platform that students feel comfortable putting out a request for those sorts of things. And we've also talked about the process of creating a club and how that's been a little bit different at the high school versus IRS. High school clubs have a process where you have to have, some information filled out and advisors and all of that sort of stuff. And there wasn't really a form for that. For IRS, and because it's been a little bit more flexible because the kids are a little bit younger and need a little bit more guidance. So, I'm sure that'll be something that we'll continue to talk about as well.
So Steve does not only collect what you have seen as the Word document that he's put together, he also has a running tally of how many students he asks multiple questions to each of the advisors and has them reported. So I can have him add in numbers, because I too am curious. I'd love to be able to put on the sign 90% or 95% of our kids are involved in extra co-curricular activities.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Who are reaching and where.
Yeah, just like average number of students that attend. Because, I get it. Not every kid can go to every single club. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great.
All right. Any other questions for co-curricular? you. Superintendent's report.
So my written report is included in the packet. I touch on 3 points and then I've added another one. So first and foremost, I need the board and the public to be aware of the issue that we're facing when it comes to unpaid lunch balances. So for the past 2 years, we've been able to offer free and reduced, or, free lunch, right? Lunch was just free. Unfortunately, we're no longer able to do that. That was a program that was removed by the federal government. So we're no longer able to do that. But so what we're starting to see are kids racking up lunch balances over $100. So we have, I would say almost all of our schools have lunch balances that are quickly approaching $500, and we're only halfway through this year. So we'll be working, is going to work with the cafe services to make sure that we are getting those notifications in a timely manner so that we can help parents before the lunch balances are extremely difficult for them to pay. We're going to make sure that we're offering parents the opportunity to fill out a free and reduced lunch form if that's necessary. Unfortunately, a lot of parents don't meet the threshold because the form has not, or the numbers have not been adjusted for inflation yet. We have no control over that. So we're hoping that those changes are made and that we're able to qualify more people. But I want everybody to be aware that it is looking like we will have thousands of dollars potentially owed to us that the school will need to account for at some point towards the end of the year. But we are doing what we can to work with families or to help them get on a payment plan or something of that nature. The filing period's open, tomorrow? And so if your term is up on school board and you're interested in running again, or if you know people who are interested, they should come to the SAU and fill out the form directly there. Business hours, I believe we are open. Someone would be there to assist them from anywhere from 7 to 5 at night. Congratulations to Amy Morse and our music program here. I did have the chance to attend the Lakes Region Musical Festival on Saturday. It was absolutely wonderful. It was just very, very well done. Very, very pleased with that. Heard very, very nice comments about our facilities, how well run our organization was. So just a very, very nice program that we were able to host. And I know we have not hosted before in my tenure as superintendent. So a really proud moment for me and for the Mascoma district. The final piece that you have, so if you look at the next piece of paper, you'll see a timeline from Mark Dolan, who is the facilitator for the strategic plan. So you'll see a rough timeline with us starting work on the strategic plan or restarting work on the strategic plan in February. So we'll look at an invitation out to those people that were previously involved with the first work that we did, and then filling the slots that are unfilled after that. So with a wrap up of the strategic plan, I did ask him to wrap it up prior to June because June gets to be a tiny bit busy. So if we could wrap it up before June, he thinks we would be able to wrap it up in May. So you do have that for reference.
That's great. I think that'll be very handy to get back on track, and it set us up well for some things before COVID, which was cool, and some things got derailed, but we'll get back on. So, but I found it very helpful to guide us and to guide the district. And I don't know about y'all, but I thought it was helpful to kind of take the temperature of the community, take the temperature of the school, see where we were, see where we want to go. So,
and it would be great to have to fill any stakeholder slots that for people who can't be involved to get in that process. So hopefully we'll have good response from people that were involved before. If not, we can look for other people to fill those spots. And I wasn't able to come on Saturday, but I also heard really good things about it, and it made me so happy to see some of the photos, knowing that these are just the type of events that we all dreamed that we would be hosting before the renovation. And so to see that come to fruition is really exciting.
yeah, I was here all day on Saturday, and it was a blast. We had a lot of fun. We had tons of students helping out, tons of parents helping out. just people from 15 different schools arriving from all over the state. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. The kids are proud of their facility and they were proud of their program, and it was really a lot of fun. So we would do it every year. We were like, we could host this a lot. So. I did have a question on lunch balances.
Sure.
Do you know what the threshold is now with a mail, like when they get mailed something saying like you have a balance? Because I mean, I have an app, so it's like your child's balance has fallen below $10 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I got to add to it. But is there something? Obviously, unless I set that up, I wouldn't know.
Right. Yeah, now as soon as even there, we should be running almost weekly reports, and I'm not sure that's happening.
Mm.
So we should be running weekly reports, right? Carol and I have done this. Did we do weekly reports?
Yes, and sometimes it got bad enough where we did daily.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
you know, there's a way to fix it. You said communication's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep up on that, or get back into that weekly notification process.
I think so.
Because it's much easier for parents to come up with $10 than it is for them to come up with $100.
Absolutely, and that's my thought. I would hate to get a bill in the mail. It's like, oh, there, your kid ate $120 worth of food. You had no idea.
Well, and sometimes, you know, you might assume that your child is having lunch,
The lunch, right?
and they're really having the lunch and 2 drinks.
The
and-
$3 drinks.
and 2 $3 drinks and something else. So
That's a conversation.
as soon as we can figure that out too, as soon as parents fully understand that little Reese likes to go and get himself a couple of drinks and a drink for his friend. And, you know, as soon as we're able to figure that out, we can put a lockdown on that. Parents have that ability to say, no, just lunch only, you know, no incidentals. So we just have to get back on track and
Communication,
get
yeah.
retrained. Yep.
I think we can get it back and get it down to a manageable level by the end of the year. I think once people realize, oh,
One of the articles that came out, you know,
Yeah.
said that this is a problem.
Yeah.
Not just, I mean, this is
Oh,
not
yeah,
isolated to
absolutely.
here, that
Yeah.
that's one of the things that a lot of schools are experiencing.
and it's
Getting
obvious we're
back
not.
into this, yeah.
And if they're racking up a tab, we're not denying them food either.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we
Works,
don't.
which is
We
way it
don't
works. So
deny
I'd
food,
rather take the
so
hit
we
than
take
kid
the
not
hit.
getting hit. We'll deal with that.
Just because I know that this question has come up in other districts, I don't know that it's come up here. If there were people in the community
Oh,
or
yeah.
groups that wanted to make a donation to help address some of the overdue balances, is that something that is acceptable or not? Because I think I remember some local districts saying, no, you can't like call the SAU and drop off a check to address overdue balances.
Oh, that's not the case here.
Okay.
All right, yeah, yeah. We actually have, I know we set up in, Canaan specifically has a portion of their.
School photos.
Of their what?
School photo.
Yep, some of the school photo money would go to it, but we also had a specific account or a specific line that said lunch fund.
Yeah.
So if people came in and said, we want to donate $10, $20, $100, we would specifically put it in that account to help pay down some of the lunch fund balance.
Okay. That's good to know.
And we have done that. If there's a student leaves the district or somebody graduates, they can either donate to a sibling or donate to somebody whose lunch balance is over. So we have done it in the past.
Oh, that's good to know if I carry a balance at the end and my kid graduates. That's good. All right.
Good, thanks.
Any other questions for Amanda? All right, cool, thank you. Business Administrator report. Rob.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple updates. We are still working on our audit. We're uploading selected documents to the auditing company. They should be nearing the end. They're usually done by the beginning of February, so maybe another week or so. And I remember from last meeting, we also certified the default budget and the operating budget. Those have been uploaded to the Department of Revenue and accepted, as well as the warrant articles that we all went over at the last board meeting. So all of those have been included in the annual report, which was just started to be distributed today at the typical key locations around town. And I think some people have a copy here. Copies are available at the SAU office as well.
All right, any questions for Rob? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, new business, deliberative session, discussion. Bonnie, welcome.
Isn't it exciting?
It is exciting, I always have fun.
What can I do for you?
Well, I mean, we're not,
What are we talking about? I have
We're just a general deliberative discussion. I didn't.
5 or 6 warrant articles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Here, do you want?
nothing.
Perfect. We should be out by 9:15.
Exactly. You run a tight ship, and you know it's nothing there's nothing confusing. There's nothing we've never had before. It's your regular budget. It's the teachers' negotiation contract, and it's a few warrant articles for putting money in capital reserve accounts.
Perfect.
So it's
I don't
No
anticipate
COVID
Oh, yeah, it's
no
here.
COVID.
Here, do you want one of these? Do you have an extra one,
I
Rob?
love it.
You can have mine. That's fine.
I can't read. You
No.
didn't mark it all up, did you?
No, I didn't. I just looked at the art. It looks very pretty. Yeah, so, you know, same old, same old. We'll each talk about one of the articles. We'll speak to that. We'll tell you who that morning, I guess. So, yeah. Anything else for Bonnie? Or?
No, but I do think it would be prudent for us to have you all assign 2 warrant articles at this time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's talk. All right.
Can I just, going forward, my plan is I'm probably not going to run again. I'm 73. It's time to back off some things. So I wish the board would consider raising the pay of the moderator, not for me, but for the next. I've been paid this, I think I've been moderator for 15 or 16 years. I've never gotten a raise.
What is it?
$75.
Should have said something a long time ago.
Well, again,
I know.
Maybe that's something we should look at, put it
Yeah.
on the agenda for
yeah,
everything related to the board.
Yeah. good
I
point.
mean, that's a long time
That is a
without
long
getting an
time.
increase.
It's not easy. You got to run them.
Well, I think I have a very easy job. I mean, seriously, it's been years since we've had any controversy, you know,
Right,
at the
that's 'cause
school
people know
board,
you're
at
there.
the deliberative.
Won't put up with any baloney.
No, I don't do that. You think I've scared them?
Maybe.
What can I tell you?
I'll have you sit in the front row anyway in the future. All right, well, thank you. That's good to know. I had no idea, so thank you very much. I
Yeah,
definitely
well,
will.
again, you know, you have to look at the positions and, you know, in our town, the ballot clerks get paid more than the town moderator, which to me is terrible.
Yeah,
Responsibilities are quite different,
yeah, for sure.
but, all
Um,
right, well, if you think anything, give me a
Okay.
holler,
Okay.
otherwise we'll see you
8
soon.
We're gonna.
Soon,
we're
that's
gonna
why
meet-
we're putting things together tonight.
Yeah.
Soon,
Yes, soon. So
great,
not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
Yeah.
And we're gonna meet at 8:30.
8:30.
8:30 with legal,
yeah,
and then 9 o'clock we'll start in the auditorium.
perfect,
Cool. All right.
see you then.
Thank you, Bonnie. We'll see you then.
Drive safely.
That's right. All right. Who wants to talk about what? I can talk to the budget. If you and I talk about that, and you're fine with that? Okay.
So Scott will also speak.
And Scott will I'll let Scott
Yeah.
mostly speak to the budget. I'll just say it.
Under Article 4.
Yeah.
Is that Article 4?
Yeah, it's Article 4, sorry.
Okay.
Article
So
4.
we'll put down
All right, Tim right there. Tim and Scott, yeah.
and Scott.
Negotiated agreement. Did you want to talk about that, Kathleen?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm happy to do it too if you'd like.
Yeah.
I can stand up there with you too, so.
work
And-
it out there.
And then articles, oh, look at this, there's 3 of you left and there's 3 articles left, so. 6, 7, and 8. Who would like capital reserve for fund facilities, capital reserve, special ed, or accreditation?
I would feel bad if Brewster wanted to do it. No, I'll do it, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Brewster you will not hurt his feelings.
No, you
No,
won't.
I'm just saying.
Brewster's
he's the-
job is to say, I make a motion to limit reconsideration.
Reconsideration.
He does it very well, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So no, I'm happy to do that one.
I'm gonna read the room on that one this year too. If it's dead, I'm not gonna call those out. All right, so you'll do capital reserve for facilities. Who would like to do special ed? Yeah, Mr. Danielle would do special ed.
I won't be here.
Oh, you won't be here. That's right. You're not gonna be here.
I am
That's right.
busy.
Thank you.
Charge nursing it up at Dartmouth.
She's gonna be on her feet all day at the hospital. All right. Well, which one would you like?
Last year you did the accreditation, so
Yeah.
that makes sense for you to do it again. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna get 2 here, so.
Yep. I'll do special ed too as well.
Okay.
And then if Vicky wants to, then she can. But I'm not gonna make her. So. All right. Cool. Thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
getting me to do that.
Does anyone want anything specific numbers wise from Rob while you have him here as it pertains to changes in the warrant article or?
I'm gonna have to kind of wrap my head around it. So we did 180 last year, we're doing 250, it's a jump.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to be able to speak to that.
So she'll hopefully need a history of numbers?
Yeah, just,
Amounts?
like and I usually can do it by looking at the capital improvement plan itself, but just so I can hone in and say, well, here's why this year's a little different and kind of thing. So,
Email me if you need anything.
okay.
Yeah, I think, didn't the budget committee have a series of discussions about that as well to raise that for this year, or am I thinking of something else?
Well, so basically, we're looking at an increase in costs in general in construction, but we're also looking at monies that we need for the, to finish the ventilation project,
Oh, right,
CDPS
yeah.
and CES. So that's quite a bit of it, I hope, so
Yeah.
you'll need that information.
Right.
We should just email her with a synopsis of that.
Yeah.
Of course, dog ear, pages 28 and 29
Yeah.
in your
Oh, yeah, that is the
booklet for
CIP.
the,
Yeah,
yeah, for the
the stats.
capital
are all
reserve fund report, the most recent capital
Yeah, and
reserve
that's,
fund report, and the.
That's where I like,
Yeah.
that's where you find it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good one, because it's like saving money for a rainy day it's not even a rainy day, it's for planned expenses for.
Well, I think all
Thanks.
along, and Corrado's been great about this, is we're
Yeah.
trying to get to a point where we're not spending unnecessary money, and we're looking ahead, and we're catching things before they happen. And
Yeah.
so we'll end up spending less money.
Preventive maintenance
that's-
is cheaper.
That's
Yeah.
sort of,
Absolutely.
but I just, so I want to be able to speak to that a little bit.
And Danielle, you'll want the year that we're going through the ask and, what the
Yeah.
balance is.
And I'll figure out anything else I need to let you know.
Okay.
I would think for the negotiated agreement, maybe some bullet points would be good, just so that way, well, just bullet points of what both sides got, I guess.
Yeah.
We can do that. Okay. All right. Anything else on that? All right. Substitute pay discussion. As we had it last time, we changed our policy for substitute pay rates to remove it from being locked into a policy to make it adjustable, that we can set it every year. And so, as you see in your packet, she put together this nice spreadsheet of all the different schools in the area, what they pay their teacher subrate, para subrate, nurse subrate, custodian, and long-term subrate. So kind of gives an idea of where we are, and we had $100 a day for our subrate, and that's right in the middle. That's right in the middle of all these other districts. It's right in line with Hanover, Lebanon,
But it's paid hourly.
Newfound. Well, some of them are paid hourly, some of them are flat, like Hanover.
No, but ours is paid hourly.
Ours is paid
In the
hourly.
document says
Ah, yes,
hourly,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, so it's the app, we should put it out there that this is an hourly wage, not a
Right,
per
per
day
day.
wage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see, for example, Lebanon School District, $14 an hour equals out to $105 a day for 7.5 hours. So that's that gives you an idea of what a $14 an hour for a sub would be. So, and currently we still have the same rates. We've just carried over the same rates that we've had, correct, Amanda?
That's correct.
We didn't change anything, so.
No.
And as you can see, Newfound pays the same rate for paras and teachers. Interesting. And so does Andover Merrimack, so.
Kids-wise, so comparison-wise, I know that, as far as districts, I know Hanover and Lebanon, they're probably twice they're bigger districts, but.
Yes.
So Kearsarge is more our,
Kearsarge is
Still
still
bigger.
a little bit bigger than we are. Fall,
Yeah,
we're pretty
Mountain's
comparable
bigger.
to Fall Mountain. Claremont would be bigger, but they didn't give us any numbers.
Yeah.
Newport,
Newport's
we're
about the
comparable.
Yeah, Newport's close.
Newfound.
those are
Newfound's
much
bigger.
bigger.
That's
And
still-
Merrimack Valley would be larger than we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was,
So that just gives you some idea. Are we happy keeping the rate that we have it at now?
On the document, are we talking about the MOU?
Oh, I'm talking,
Or
oh.
just
I was
talking
looking at
about
the
the data?
I was talking about the data.
Okay. Yeah,
There's
I just
MOU,
wanted
there we
to
go,
make sure
MOU
we know.
substitutes.
Okay.
So the MOU for substitutes was for That's different.
That's totally different.
Totally, all right,
That's
we'll get to that in a
that's our
minute.
next item.
We'll get to that in a minute. All right, I just want to make sure. Okay, so are you looking for us to make a motion to set a rate then?
I think we had made a motion to leave the rate at the last, to
Yeah, we have
leave the
that.
rate flat, so
Okay.
unless you all want to change it, I think,
We're
then
okay.
you don't need to make
Okay.
another motion.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, this is good information. We can look at it again over the summer and then set it by the beginning of the school year next year. So, okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay. All right, so the next thing we have on there is the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between the Education Association, NEA, the Teachers Union, and the district, talking about, per past practice, we will advertising seeking qualified substitutes, but when we cannot find them, if there's someone in the building who can step up for an hour or so to provide substitute coverage during their prep period, this sets their rate for that as well, and saying that this is how we're going to do it.
So the title of this says Memorandum of Agreement between the Mascoma, there's a typo, it
Yeah.
needs to be an A, Valley Regional School Board and the Mascoma Valley Regional Education Association, New Hampshire, NEA. But it doesn't mention that we're specifically talking about per diem substitute teachers, correct?
So this talks about, this was their proposal to us.
Oh, okay.
This is a proposal from the MVREA to us, which would allow them to become substitute teachers during their planning periods.
Okay.
And you had some questions on the feasibility of that, and so I had asked them, and you had asked also about how much, a day this could potentially cost. So at $40
Yeah.
for 40 minutes, basically, or
Yeah.
prorated down. So when I had asked that question, you had asked what would it look like? Would it be instruction, or would it just be simply supervising students in a room? And the answer to that was it would be a little bit of both, right? If the teacher felt that they were comfortable teaching a class, say they were a math teacher and they were subbing for another math teacher, they would then teach the class. Otherwise, they didn't feel that they were qualified to necessarily continue on with instruction, so it would be just a supervised study hall in that classroom. Looking at numbers, on average, because I wouldn't just limit this to the high school, this would shoot, and I believe the intent of it is to cross all grade levels. We are talking, CES said on average they are looking at about 4 substitutes a day. Canaan looks to be on average 5 substitutes a day. So when I start to do the math real quick, I blow through my, we just blow through the substitute budget in a very, very quick manner if we were using teachers every day to cover in that manner. So it would, to me, it's a very difficult decision to make. But at this time, I can tell you that we cannot afford to look at it. With the amount of people who are out, we would have difficulty sustaining that model, looking at teachers substituting full-time.
But it's an emergency plan, isn't it? It's not meant to be.
Oh, no, this is not just for an emergency. This would be for, like, if we couldn't find a sub for someone, then the office would then say, would anybody like to give up their planning period, make the $40 extra, and then substitute for one period a day.
And you would have like 8 different teachers doing that, or 6 different teachers or
Right.
whatever.
That's
Aren't they
correct.
doing it anyway?
They are not.
They're not.
They are not.
So what happens?
The students either, if there's no substitute, report to the regular study hall or to the library for that period.
So if this is not an unprecedented shortage of available substitute teachers, it's for any type of shortage, meaning it's not an emergency situation.
Correct. There is a clause in the
It's
current,
the first thing, yeah.
in the current contract, there is a clause that we can ask teachers to substitute in an emergency situation. But I believe the intent of this is to allow for any time that there is not a substitute provided, a teacher to go in and to work for that $40 extra per per planning period.
Then I think the second paragraph should have the language changed in there because it's boxing us into an unprecedented shortage of substitute teachers.
That's what we want. That's what we're trying to solve for,
Well,
right?
I don't think so. I mean, it's anytime we can't find a substitute. It doesn't have to be an unprecedented
Yeah.
situation. It could just be for a very ordinary reason.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me this would need to be at the discretion of the principal. I mean,
Yeah.
and if, you know, if a teacher's absent and they have sub notes, anybody can follow them, you know, and so it would, you know, if it helps to continue on learning, you know, I don't know.
Well, I will give you.
But I hear what you're saying.
Here are my numbers.
Yeah.
So if I'm paying someone approximately $40 an hour, instead of $100 a day for a substitute, I'm looking at $320 a day for coverage.
Right.
So it's about 3 times more expensive for me to hire in teachers to fill this. It's just, Rob, do we know what our current balance is on? And not necessarily the current balance makes a difference because we don't have substitutes to fill it. But at that rate, I had done some numbers.
What percentage of it's already spent? How about that?
Probably, we're at 35,000 out of 150. So,
Okay.
almost halfway through the year.
Trucking through.
Less than a third.
That's good. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a couple of concerns about this kind of a proposal. One being that it would be kind of the financial impact and how it doesn't necessarily add up in a way that I think that we hope that it would. And then knowing that this is a proposal for the teachers, but there's not a reciprocal sort of proposal in place for the support staff. And I know that the support staff often get pulled in to sub and teach classes, and there's no difference in what they're being asked to do, and yet our existing support staff would be at a disadvantage there as well, and that is a concern.
Yeah.
The inequities
Right.
that
You
could
mean for a
potentially be
parent?
set up.
For a
Yes.
parent?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I did all the time.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but it's, I know some districts would, they would give you a differential. You know, if you ended up subbing for a teacher, you might get an extra $20.
Yeah, and I don't think we do that.
Right, well, that, I think you're right on that one, yeah.
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 That's,
Yeah, and there's nothing that guarantees that, you know, let's say a math teacher is out, that another math teacher will step in and take over and actually teach math,
Right.
whereas an English teacher would be like, well, I don't know math, so I'm just gonna get my study hall.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
what's the
that
point of
doesn't-
that? I would just send them to study hall.
Right.
But it's under number 2. It
Mhm.
says, in the absence of a qualified substitute for a staff member, employees may volunteer to provide substitute coverage.
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be the para?
This
I think it's
is,
just
the,
talking.
the agreement is only for
Right.
the Education Association and not the support staff.
employees were preferred to collect current
Yeah.
collective bargaining agreement between the, so.
I guess
Yeah,
it
so
would
it's
feel
just the
different
teachers.
if they were actually going to get
Yeah, I agree.
instructed
Well, that's what I was
lessons.
thinking.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna pay $40 an hour for something, my expectation would be that the child is getting, there's no delay in the learning.
Just as if
But
the
if
regular.
it's going to be a study hall or a library session
Yeah.
that costs no additional dollars to the taxpayers, and they're not gaining anything by paying $40 for the teacher, I guess I'm not having an appreciation for why this would be something
Right.
we
Yeah.
would want to move forward with on a regular basis, because I
Yeah.
think it could also be taken advantage of,
Yeah.
especially if, not to make suggestions, but having worked in operations for a while, when you learn that there's no expectation to proceed on with a lesson plan, you can continue to do your own work the same as you would, and except for I'm making extra money now.
Yeah, exactly. That they might say, well, this is my prep plan, so I'm going to go prep while these kids have study hall, and I'll just put up with kids in my room during prep times.
Well, and there should be sub-plans, so they should be able to,
Yeah,
I mean, that's technically how it works.
yeah. I mean, I'm happy to talk with Skip or anyone else about this too, and we can come back to it if they would like. But I mean, it is a tricky road to walk down for sure.
I can certainly go back if you do make a motion and vote against this. I can go back with suggestions, or make a motion and vote against this as written. We could go back and make some other suggestions and potentially maybe put some caps on it. You would teachers would only substitute in rooms for which they were qualified to provide instruction or something along those lines.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, all right. We can draft up a different, or come back with another.
But the
volley.
expectation that is learning will continue, I agree.
Yeah, we appreciate the offer, but we just
Right.
want some guarantees and some guardrails. That's
Yep.
all. So,
Yeah.
all right. So if someone wants a motion on that, we can do that. I guess.
Do we need a motion, or can
We
it
can
deal
ta-
without a motion and send it back to the drawing board?
Yeah, we could just table it, I suppose. We don't have to reject it outright.
Right, let's
Yeah, we
just
can-
send it
Or
back.
would you prefer a motion so that you can take the
All right,
motion
there
back?
you go. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion that we decline the MOA from, as presented, and allow Amanda to continue the conversation to something that might be a bit more amenable.
All right.
Okay, second.
Second from Kathleen. All right. So the motion is to disapprove,
Decline.
to decline the memorandum of agreement. So voting in the affirmative means that you do not want this MOA. All right. All those in favor of the motion to decline the agreement signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? All right. There we go. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to continue the discussion. That's it. All right. Candidate filing period is the next thing on our agenda. Anything on that specifically?
Oh, just a
If you're in-
notification.
If you're in the towns of Orange, Dorchester, or Grafton, it is your year. Budget committee and school board members. So, cool. All right. We have a draft of the calendars next on our agenda. Were you looking for an approval of it, or just a?
Well, so
peek?
this is a notification. I know some parents will probably, looking to see what next year will bring.
Mhm.
I want to point out a couple of things. New Hampshire state law mandates that we may not be more than 10 days different than our local career tech center. We are not. We were able to do that. We're very lucky. Vermont is 5 days fewer for students, so that gives us a little extra leeway. When I compare these two calendars, we do have fewer teacher professional development days than Hartford, so it does mean that there are a couple of places where we're different, a couple of half days that we have added in that are also just a little bit different than the Hartford schedule, but those still count as a day of school. Hartford's original schedule goes, if you look at August, our teaching days are the same, like the teacher workshop days are pretty much the same, or a few fewer. The Hartford schedule does go 30, 31, and 1, so that last week. We typically have given a 4-day weekend for the weekend of Labor Day. So I did adjust that so that we would go 29, 30, 31, have Friday off, Friday the 1st off, as well as Monday the 4th off. So that's just one piece to note. We typically have had very good luck with that 3-day back. This especially helps some of our younger students acclimate to the classroom setting. Then we would go to a 4-day week, and then we would go into a 5-day week. You will notice the other big one, a very early April break, but the next big one is the date of graduation. So we have graduation right now tentatively scheduled for the 14th, which is on this calendar a non-school day. Going by this year, we would, it would not be an issue, right? I've called 3 snow days already. I'm looking at another one coming up on Thursday and potentially Monday again. So we do have that there. I don't love it. The alternative is to put graduation on the 7th. We can only have school in session for 5 days after graduation. So that only gives me the ability to call one snow day. That's not gonna go over well. So that's not a great solution. Somewhere we had to make up one day. We could take the 21st off before the holiday break, so December 21st. We could take that off. Hartford is in session on the 21st, but we could choose to take that day off and then make the 14th the final day of school and graduation. So there are a couple pieces I didn't like. I really don't like having graduation scheduled for a day that is potentially a snow day, but we were sort of in the weeds on it. You know, we could have done a 2-day week, the first week of school, but I don't think that's worth it. So my next best solution would be, you know, looking at the 21st, having the 21st off of December.
And that would bump the last day of school to the 14th
To the
of June.
14th of June.
And doing that would allow, what would be the advantage of that, having school on a day? Because you're probably gonna have a snow day anyway.
Well, that's why Hartford has the same graduation date. So they're betting on a snow day and
Yeah.
bumping into that Friday too.
Yeah,
I just don't love it.
yeah,
But we followed their schedule.
yeah.
I mean, is there a reason we can't? The conflict with Hartford's graduation, wait, the Career Center though has a graduation, their ceremony is on a different day than their high school graduation, correct? They have
Yes,
they have something
yes.
earlier than that, okay. So it might be a conflict for some families if they have extended family.
Yeah, I think
there,
this would be the Hartford, this is not the CTC, so it's a Hartford School District,
Okay.
Hartford High School
Okay,
graduation date on the 14th.
yeah,
I do remember a lot of, competing graduations on the same day. You
Yeah.
compete for the same equipment, you compete
Yes.
for the same
Yeah.
chairs, the
Vendors.
same vendors, the same,
Yeah.
all that. Are we tied to having it on a Friday versus a Thursday? I'm just throwing out ideas, that's all.
I don't think we're tied to it, I think it's just been tradition.
That's fair. No, it's fine.
Does it affect the 8th grade graduation?
The 8th grade graduation is typically, what are they doing that?
Yeah,
During
during
the
the
last
last
day
day
of
of school
school.
during the day,
During the
or
day.
like early afternoon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're not looking for an approval, we've just put it out there, we've
Okay.
also sent it out to both the MVREA and the MVRSS for their input, for principal input, so this is pretty fresh off the presses.
Okay.
So we'll revisit it again, if anybody has any brilliant ideas, like I said, I'm a little bit torn on that graduation being on a potential snow day, because wouldn't I love a year where I didn't have to call a snow day?
That would be nice. There's also advantages of having graduation with no school that
yeah,
day.
I know, I was gonna say, as a parent who's gone through kids with graduation, like there's lots going on and lots that you're doing, and if there wasn't school, then you could have maybe a family lunch instead of feeling super rushed about having a Friday evening graduation and then having like an hour or two with your extended family before Project Grad.
Right.
So
I-
I don't actually hate the
Okay.
graduation on
On the,
a,
after the
Sell me on
last day of
after the
school.
last day. And, I mean, and that's assuming there's no snow days, but
Right.
yeah.
The only other question I had on this, and it's only because I had a conversation with a teacher in the last week, how much and a parent, who is a teacher and a parent, they appreciated having the early release days on Fridays rather than Wednesdays for teacher in-service days, for those days. Just because it ends their week, they can end it with PD and go from there, and then parents, I've heard from parents, they like it because then it just begins the weekend and they don't have to worry about half day. Just some feedback on that, I have heard that, but unless they give other pushback.
Really like that, Tim, because you will see that we've re-put them back to Wednesdays where they had previously been.
Yeah,
I thought it was a brilliant move to have them, the early release days back those holiday weekends
Yeah.
for families. Unfortunately, we saw record numbers of staff calling out sick on those days, so the shortage was just too much
well, maybe
for
not on the,
buildings to sustain, so
maybe not
that's
on the 3-day
unfortunate.
weekends, maybe then.
So it's unfortunate that it worked out nicely for our families.
It did. I mean, maybe we can do 1 or 2 of them, but maybe not up against the 3-day weekend then. But yeah, that's unfortunate, so. All right.
Tim, I'd like to also ask that before we get into policies, that we add one more item to the agenda, and that would be remote learning days.
Oh, yes. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjust the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, and second?
Second.
Kathleen, all those in favor of adding to the agenda next, remote learning days, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, so it's kind of building on that of snow days. We
Yes,
would not have
yes,
to
it
have
is.
snow days if.
So currently, we do not have a provision. We do have policy that would allow us to use distance learning. We are allowed by the state to use it. Has not been past practice here. Years ago, when we kind of talked about it, it was met with a lot of angst by our parents who felt that we would be killing the magic of a snow day. At 3 snow days and looking at knocking on the last week of June, because if I call another 2 snow days, which this week, this run has been incredibly difficult, we will be looking at that final week in June. So kids could be coming potentially the 27th, I think. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Yeah, if you
right now.
blow out every single snow day.
If I use
Yeah.
5 snow days, we'd already be bumped into that final week of June. I know a lot of camps have started. I know a lot of family vacations have, would be starting. I am concerned. Most districts typically use 3 snow days, traditionally at the beginning, and then look at remote time afterward. We would be looking at least 4 snow days. There'd be no way for me to negotiate an MOA with the unions in order to implement this or to train the kids or the parents on what remote instruction would be or look like, which we're very good at it. We did it very, very well during the pandemic, so I have all faith that our teachers would be able to pull it together. But, if Thursday is a snow day, it'll be snow day number 4 in a traditional snow day, and I'm not even through January. Typically, statistics tell me I will pull a snow day in March, and February is often a couple of snow days. So we do really need, I think, to look at it. It would also allow the ability to call that snow day a little bit earlier, knowing that it would count, right? So I'd really enjoy talking to road agents at 4:30 every morning. But if I could know that we were going to get 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 inches and able to call it the night before, knowing that we would move right into remote learning, I think that would be beneficial. So what I'm looking for is permission from the board to send out a survey to parents and staff about remote learning days, to then enter into negotiations with the unions to create an MOA that would meet the needs. So that would be the motion that I would ask from the board to make.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to encourage Amanda, however.
Direct
Direct
Amanda?
Amanda. Go ahead and direct me, Danielle.
Amanda to follow up on the mentioned components of developing a remote learning day protocol.
Second.
And Kathleen second. All right, further discussion on this.
I think that's exactly what the remote learning, the way you envisioned it is for, and the magic, we've had a lot of magic.
There's been a lot of magic. Monthly,
I
April
agree,
magic.
I like snow day magic, but,
But you know what?
but at the end of the year, you're like,
If we weren't so close to the end of June, it might be a different story, but we're looking at the
Yeah.
end of June, and I know camps have started.
Yeah.
so
And,
you're gonna survey the parents, so
Yeah,
that's great.
we're gonna put out a survey to everyone.
Good.
yeah, I like that, and I think, like you said, we'll go with 4 snow days, and after that, we'll roll to remote. Kearsarge just did that this week, I think. I saw,
Yes.
I had a look at one, yeah, a bunch of them did that.
I mean, when possible, it might not always work, but yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like we're asking them to like completely redo, it's gonna look different than your normal day of school, obviously, so. Then again, there's some kids who just take their whole snow day and just catch up on their homework, so it's not gonna be much different, really.
Not much.
Not everybody's on the slope.
No, that's right, can't all ski down the mountain. All right, any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of the motion to begin discussions of remote days for snow days signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed and abstentions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
This is related, but
Yeah.
not. I've had some questions from senior parents about whether or not if the snow days continue, if the date of graduation for this year will change.
So,
I think that we made the seniors go and we put graduation at the end of the calendar to accommodate that, so.
yeah, I have 5 days, right?
Yeah.
We have five days. The seniors can't be out 5 days
Right,
sooner than school ends.
right.
So it would be pretty critical for seniors to, for the graduation
Yeah.
date to hold, that we do implement some remote days.
Yeah, okay.
You know, say that in the survey too. Put it out there. I mean, just be realistic,
Yeah.
All right. So up next on new business, we got a bunch of policies. So we have one here for second reading, policy FF.
Make a motion that we approve for second reading policy FF, naming of facilities and memorials on school property.
Second.
Second. All right. Any further discussion? I don't believe we had any changes to this since last time. All right. All those in favor of second reading and adoption on policy FF signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. All right. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 policies here for first reading.
Make a motion that we approve for first reading, policy JLCB, immunization of students, policy JFAM, education of military children and military connected students, policy EBCA, crisis prevention and emergency response plans, and policy EBCD, emergency school and district closings.
Okay.
Second.
And Kathleen the second. All right. We'll just go right down the list here. First one we have policy JLCB, immunizations of students.
So we did do a quick approval of this. We waived the first reading and did an approval in the fall because it did remove the portion that said if parents were seeking a religious exemption that they needed to have a notarized note. The notarization was taken off. But this policy was also updated and section
Oh yeah, same thing. E?
D.
D.
So section D pertaining to military children and military connected children was also added. So that is a new addition. Otherwise, it is the same policy that you all approved this fall.
Okay. And it all is in line with various RSAs of New Hampshire Department of Education and Health and Human Services, etc. So, any questions on that one? Okay. And up next, JFAM, Education of Military Children and Military Connected Students for first reading. And we do not have this policy,
We do
right?
not have this policy, and I think it is a very good policy. It's something that we should have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what we did was model it after the New Hampshire School Boards Association's policy, sample policy.
Yep. And I would leave, there's just a comment there, to put the definition with the RSA in there, on page 1, you see the yellow highlight?
Yep.
I would leave that in there just because it ties it to the RSA, and there are I'm sure there's certain things that are, because RSA 110B3, whatever,
Yep.
it defines active duty, so then you tie it to the state's definition of active duty, which I would, for consistency's sake, would be good.
We can leave that footnote
That'd be
in.
mine. Okay, any questions on that?
I think this is good. It's giving much more flexibility. Lord knows that they need it sometimes, so
Yes.
it's good.
I was just gonna say, do we need to add in a Mascoma Valley Regional School Board, school district, and those
Yeah, it's the
those references?
Mascoma Valley Regional School Board's intent.
Got it.
And
All right.
district is in there a few times as well, so. Residency under Part B, residency first sentence.
Yeah. First time, so.
Yeah. Got it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, the next one on there is EBCA, Crisis Prevention and Emergency Response Plans for first reading.
So an EBCA, our old plan,
Which was barely, almost a year ago.
Yeah.
We looked at that.
Pretty much the same.
which is changed. I'm missing EBCB school closings. Did we miss that? Was that not in the packet?
No.
No, is that the next one?
EBCD is the next one.
EBCD, which is also EBC. Okay, I'm out of line on my notes here.
It's okay.
So, we've got some formatting changes here from our current policy. The content is, for the most part, the same. But we did have some changes in deadlines. Previously, it had to be approved, I think by September 30th or submitted to Homeland Security by September 30th. And now that date has been pushed back to October 15th, so that was a pretty significant change. But otherwise, we have just done the minor updates as suggested by the New Hampshire School Board Association.
Any questions, comments on that one?
Is it supposed to be different dates for A and B? So the date referenced in the last paragraph of A is October 15th, and then the one in the last paragraph of B is October 31st. Is that on purpose?
Yes, that's on
Probably
purpose,
is, but-
because, yeah, the district-wide one
Okay.
builds from so the district-wide one is just the basic generic plan that I have at the SAU office. And what I wanted to do was make sure that the school site-based plans were completed before
That
we
makes-
put the other one together.
That makes sense.
So all the ones for the specific buildings, that's really what Homeland Security's
That's,
interested
yes.
in, and that's what has to be in by the
Yeah.
15th. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So in section A, third paragraph, school building principals, I don't know why, but this language kind of jumped out at me. Or designee shall annually review their site-specific EOP and submit updated plans. Do we really want them designating that?
Because often my assistant principals,
Okay,
associate
so
principals do
that's
that.
important. I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
nope, that's a good point.
You know.
It's not some
Not
random.
not where that you into some sort of
volunteer.
liability kind of
Yeah.
issue.
No.
I guess that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, it's often the associate principal that does that
All
work.
right,
Okay.
all good.
All right. Any other questions on that one? And yeah, with other districts with much bigger schools, they might even have somebody.
Well, this is
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So,
That's
or like their safety coordinator
Well,
or
just,
something like that. Yeah.
ultimately you're the one that's responsible. So.
The outline that Homeland Security gives you, every position has a designee just to back up that the plan won't fail.
Mm.
So, if someone's off on vacation when a crisis happens, there's a designee that has to jump in.
Okay. All right. Seeing nothing on that one. EBCD.
So EBCD
Good
is
update.
the new policy from the New Hampshire School Board Association. They are withdrawing the current policy EBCE that we have, school closings and cancellations. So this is the new policy based on the procedures that they recommend, which are pretty close to the procedures that we have. I did want a couple of things different in here that I suggested. We do not necessarily want staff reporting to work on snow days. I felt that it did say staff shall report to work on snow days, and I did not want that to happen.
Yeah.
So we did change that shall to may, because we do have some staff members, custodial staff in particular, that do show up on snow days because they do have work to do. If it's too dangerous, they would not.
Right.
But I don't want teachers thinking they have to report in, because that counts as a day of work. And then if it's a snow day, I have kids at the end of the year and no teachers.
Right. The big thing I noticed between the one we have now is that, and this just comes to the times, how they've changed, is that it used to be, and when I was a kid, I don't know about you, early releases were very common for snow days, because you wouldn't know a storm was coming. So this now, with modern technology, now we know. Sometimes a little too early, right?
And you'd get up early just to watch the TV or turn on the
That's
radio.
what it was. It was like, you shall call all the TV
And you
and radio
wait
stations by
for
5
Alpha
a.m.
Order.
And yeah, no, you'd sit there and wait for them to cycle through.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't on TV when I was a kid, it was on radio.
I'm not going to make any jokes.
Your superintendent didn't call it at 5 o'clock in the morning?
All right. No, I think this looks great. If this gives you the stuff that you need to be able to call days and delay openings of days and blah, 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 blah.
Gives us another distance education piece
Yep.
too.
Yep.
I was gonna say D encompasses what you're looking to get, so that's great.
And it allows you to just, close the stuff after school too. If it's fine for the school day, but then it's gonna be nasty starting at 4 o'clock. You can,
So it looks like tomorrow.
Yeah, sometimes. All right. Any comments on that one? All right, so those are all of our first readings. So we have on the floor a motion to approve policy JLCB. I'm just going to call the vote then right now. So all those in favor for first reading, policy JLCB, policy JFAM, policy EBCA, and policy EBCD, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And abstentions. All right. I'm going to table the withdrawal of EBCE because that is going to take, D is going to take the place of E, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, we don't have
withdraw,
till next
yes.
time.
Thank you.
But we can do withdrawal policy KDA, right? Public Information Program. Because last meeting we put together, we replaced it with the one that was communications plan, right?
Yes,
Yes. Okay. So, entertain a motion. And then the same thing with the next one too.
correct.
All right. So, entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we withdraw policy KDA, Public Information Program, and policy IHBAA-R, SAU 62, Specific Learning Disability Eligibility Process.
All right. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, discussion on these.
Just to note that it is added there that we should adopt the policy IHBAA for doing a specific learning disability eligibility process.
Do we have IHBA?
I believe we do.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think we just did it, but let me just double check.
so then we're just going to withdraw this form so you can do a different form, right?
Right.
So the IHBAAR is a procedure,
Yes.
so that is no longer used because that procedure is encompassed into IHBAA.
Okay, good.
But I just want to give you the final date on it. Hold on, let me get to the school board stuff. I feel like we did this in the last couple of meetings, so.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that sounds fine.
Oh, it was adopted to 9/21.
Okay. No, clean it up and find stuff we don't need anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is a procedure, so it's okay. So I will double check on
Yeah.
IHBAA.
That's a little dated.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion on those? Okay. All those in favor of withdrawing policy KDA and policy IHBAA-R signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And abstentions. All right. So agenda items for next meeting, which will be what, the 8th?
Oh, happy Valentine's Day, and give you some quarterly reports.
Good be with you. Oh, that's gonna be great. Oh, candlelit dinner. Okay, that'll be nice. Yep. All right. So yep, we'll have it. School board here on the 14th. Committee reports, spring coach nominations, deliberative session review. Oh, and quarterly reports because the quarter's about to close. So, yep. As I've heard. Anything else for next meeting?
Looking at the school board positions and the compensation.
Oh yeah.
schedules.
Good call.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We can start a review of that.
Might as well. Mm-hmm. And as always, we'll come up with stuff, I'm sure. And if you have anything else, anybody for next meeting? Okay. All right. Public comment. If anyone has any for the public comment, sure. Go ahead. Just state your name and what town you're from for the minutes.
Ren Morse from Canaan, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the state representative for Grafton 9, which is Canaan, Dorchester, and Orange. And I just wanted to let the board know that I'm available to speak with you about what's happening at a state level. We have lots of things happening with education down there right now, and so if there's anything that I can do to assist you, or even just comments or anything like that, so please feel free to reach out to me.
Cool.
Thank you.
What committee are you on, by the way?
I'm on Environment and Ag, so
Very nice.
yeah, lots of things happening with waste systems.
Yes, it's a lot of ways, that's
Yes.
for sure.
Maybe you can help us with adjusting that cost of living increase into the formula for the free and reduced meals.
Mm.
Yeah, that one is really near and dear to my heart. You know, we are fine in our family, but just those 2 years where we were not paying for lunches, you really kind of like notice what an impact that has on your family.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that. I know right now there's a lot of focus on moving away from public schools in New Hampshire, so that one's going to be a tough fight. But
I think we had the state reps here before
Oh, yeah, a couple
COVID.
years ago, yeah.
We did.
And we did bring up the bus transportation issue, about how they need at the state to make it easier,
Faster.
faster.
yeah,
And also so that you could do it in
Certification.
Vermont, you know, to streamline, you know, this process so that we can get more bus drivers. Or that's one of the problem, it was felt that it was just too, you know,
But they'd be done with their training, it'd be like 6 to 8 weeks before the state could even test them.
right.
And so, yeah, you're
Yeah.
sitting around, so.
Well, if you want to come up with a list of things in particular for this district and email me or put them on the agenda, I'm happy to come back to another meeting, so
Cool.
whatever I can do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us
Yeah.
tonight.
And you're a parent, so you're a parent of this
Yes, I
too.
have first and third grader at Canaan Elementary, so.
All right. Cool. Any other for comment? Just another period, so if anyone has any comment. All right. Okay. We have personnel nominations and resignations.
I do not,
Okay. And we have stuff for non-public though, right?
yes.
All
For the
right.
purpose of hiring.
Hiring.
Okay, so you need a motion to go into
Yes,
non-public for the
please.
purpose of hiring.
Okay. That's Kathleen's motion.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor to go into non-public purposes of hiring. Danielle.
Yes.
Tim. Yes. Kathleen.
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
And Kat.
Yes.
Okay, we are in non-public. And this will end our YouTube broadcast day. Now the anthem will play and